Hi, this is Spartan Commander, and this is a 1033 video that I've put onto our YouTube channel. Just to say, I'm going to do a short video today on river crossing. Okay, whenever you come onto a bridge battle, okay, it's always a bit of a kind of a problem. How do you get your army from one side of the river to the other side? Okay, so what we're on today, we're on Barbarian Invasion today. Okay, and I just wanted to show you that there are other ways to get across the river when you play Barbarian Invasion. Now, the traditional way to get across the river, of course, is the choke point of the bridge. And a lot of veterans watching this, you know what I mean when I say a choke point there. And you've also got a bottleneck or a choke point of the shallow water crossing as well there. So you can see that's the two if you like, choke points there, and you'll see what I mean by that. So they were going to go across, these troops are going to go across there, and of course you can see it's a very narrow, if you like, access from one side to the other. And the same here. Now this is something I thought you might find interesting here, okay, and that is, can you see the enemy general, the AI, has brought down a unit, okay, pause the game for a second here, has brought down the unit there to block or to fight on the bridge. And of course the bridge, as I say, a lot of veterans will know who have fought bridge battles, that the bridge can become a real kind of, as I say, choke point where the battle basically comes to a standstill here, where troops are just fighting on the bridge. Pause the game for a second here. And as I say, over here you can see on a shallow water crossing, it's a very narrow crossing, so troops take a bit of time to get across. And imagine if there's a couple of pike units on the other bank there to try and stop your troops getting across that shallow water crossing, and you know you just can't get across there then. So that's why we have a rule about no blocking the bridge or the shallow water crossing in our games. But here, as I say, traditional choke point here, where you, whether you play Rome Total War or Barbarian Invasion there, like, and bang as they charge in there. And as I say, there's no way, imagine now, okay, let's just pause the game for a second here. Imagine if the enemy team had put several units behind that one unit there. Imagine there's 4 or 5 units behind that. There's no way that you're going to get through that bridge, and there's no way that the enemy are going to get through it either. So it just becomes like a choke, boring point of the battle. That's why you don't see bridge battles played much. In fact, I'm probably the only player on either Rome Total War or Barbarian Invasion that hosts on a bridge map these days. So as I say, that's the two choke points there, the bridge and the shallow water crossing. Okay, but in Barbarian Invasion there are other ways for some of your units to get from one side of the river to the other, as we're going to look at today. Okay, so these are a few of the units I want to show you. This is from the Celts faction here, and can you see that the crossbowmen there, the Pictish crossbowmen, they can swim. Yeah, they can swim. And then you've got the warhounds there, they can actually swim as well. And you've got the berserkers. All the berserkers in Barbarian Invasion can swim. See these guys, the Hounds of Kulan, with their effective against armor maces. Okay, so you don't want to use the bridge, you don't want to use a shallow water point. So there are, as I say, some units in Barbarian Invasion that can actually swim. So there goes the Pictish crossbowman there, look. Notice how they walk onto the shallow part of into the water, and then they start swimming. And I just thought you might find this interesting to see. I'm just going to show you a few units that can swim across the river. There are a lot, and so if you have a bridge battle, it adds even more to the bridge battle, because you've got units that can actually swim across the river, and you don't have to get in those choke points of the bridge and the shallow water crossing. Okay. And there you can see here the actual warhounds there. Notice once again they walk to the shallow part of the river, and then they go into the deeper part and start swimming there. Okay, so you imagine there, so you know there could be a battle on the bridge at the moment, couldn't there? Well, you infiltrate units, if you like, across the river, anywhere along the river there, and infiltrate them onto the other side of the riverbank. You see what I mean? So tactically and strategically, with the units that can swim across the river, the bridge battles can be very interesting. And there you've got the Hounds of Kulan, one of the berserkers in the game there. and watch them go across as well. So, but remember, all the berserkers in the different factions can swim, okay? And we know that arguably they're the most powerful units in the game. And there you are, look. And there's the Hounds of Kulan. So if you notice, can you see they're carrying? They're still got in one hand. They're effective against armor mace there. Can you see as they swim? Can you see they're still holding on to that mace there as they swim across? Okay, so as I say, tactically and strategically, with units that can swim across the river, bridge battles can be quite exciting. And we had a really good battle over the weekend here, where we had units swimming across the water, as well as units going across the bridge and the shallow water crossing. So just having units that can swim doesn't mean that you can't use the bridge or the shallow water crossing. It just gives you kind of like added tactical and strategic things that you can do. Now, if you notice, can you see the AI there as a slinger unit? I think they were a mountain slinger unit that I put there, and the AI has put that unit into the water to try and intercept the enemy troops actually crossing the water there. So as I say, it's the bridge battles aren't hosted by anybody these days, because I think people think that they're boring. But on Barbarian Invasion, where you've got units that can actually swim, as I said, tactically and strategically, bridge battles, as long as you have a rule of no blocking the bridge or the shallow water crossing, okay, like we have in our battles, then as I say, Barbarian Invasion bridge battles can be exciting. See, look at these Hounds of Kulan. As I say, berserkers, one of the most, if not the most powerful units in the game, could swim across the river. Imagine getting them in behind engaged enemy troops who are, say, fighting on the bridge or the shallow water crossing there. So I just thought you'd find this interesting, because I think Barbarian Invasion is kind of overlooked a little bit, because it's always been in the shadow of its big brother Rome Total War. But it is really a good game that we play every Sunday. Okay, also cavalry. Some cavalry units can actually swim across the river as well. Obviously not heavy cavalry with armour, because obviously they would drown, but light cavalry, and I believe horse archers can also go across the water. There you are, look. There's this is the Hun faction at the moment, look, and you can see as they go into the water there. What I did notice is that they kind of get winded as they cross the river there. So obviously that's a factor, but they don't get tired or anything, just winded. And they were, I think that's another light cavalry unit there of the Huns going across that. And as I say, imagine how tactical and strategic bridge battles can be on Barbarian Invasion. Okay, your heavy infantry and heavy cavalry would still have to cross the bridge and the shallow water crossing, but while they're doing that, you could get units across the river that can actually swim. And I just thought you might find this interesting. Can you see, if you look down at the card here, see the units there, can you see how they've got blue on the units there? And you can see that means they're going into water and they're swimming there as well. You might not have noticed that, but there, if you notice, if you look down at the as I say, the horse icons there, you can see they've got blue on them, showing them they're actually swimming. So you imagine getting units across the river here, you know, possibly maybe even without the enemy seeing, and then getting them up into the woods where you can hide the units and then spring ambushes. But as I say, all these units here, look, all moving across the river without having to use the choke points of the bridge or the shallow water crossing. And as I say, once again, look, I've put that mountain slinger unit of the Sassanids swimming. See how its AI has put it into the river there to swim up the river to try and intercept. As I say, in the last segment we saw as well of them doing that. But I just thought, you know, Barbarian Invasion is a really good game that has been overlooked, I think, by a lot of players, and there's a lot of good things in it, and we play it every Sunday night. So if you'd like to join us, and I try and throw a bridge battle in from time to time here, as I say, with units that can swim, it really does make a bridge battle quite exciting, and tactically and strategically very, very interesting as well, as you can see. And for the final segment of this kind of video here, you might be surprised to see actually elephants here that can actually go. Can you see how they've got their archers in their kind of box there, if you like, on top of the elephants, and you've got horse archers as well. This is from the Sassanid faction here. Okay, so you can imagine how powerful the elephants are. So you imagine them actually going across the river here. Now if you watch here, as I say, you might be surprised to see that elephants actually can ford the river. And here you go. Now watch them blowing out water as they go in. As you watch them going into the water, watch them. You'll see their trunks going into the water, and watch how they blow the water out. There, can you see that? As they go into the water, their trunks are underwater, and then they blow the water out there, look, and then keep their trunks above. So I think actually what they're doing is they're walking on the actual floor of the river as they're crossing there. And notice how they're keeping their trunks out of the water so they can breathe. I just thought you might find that quite interesting. And as I say, elephants are very powerful units, aren't they, in Barbarian Invasion as well as Rome Total War. So to actually be able to get your elephants across the river, I think is quite important tactically and strategically. And then of course you've got the horse archers, of course, because they're light cavalry as well, they can swim across the water. But I just thought you know, the elephants here, which are, as I say, very powerful units on both Rome Total War and Barbarian Invasion, imagine them on a bridge battle actually coming across the river here. I mean, that is a big tactical and strategic thing to happen, isn't it? Because very often when I actually host the bridge battles, it's usually 50 or 60k each and no rules, or the only rule is not to block the bridge or the shallow water crossing. That's the only rule. So you could, if someone bought the Sassanid faction, they could bring several elephant units there, and there you are. You can see them going up onto the shore there. And there's some more elephants going to come across as well, and there's the horse archers there as well. And you can see them just swimming slowly across the river there. So as I say, I just thought I'd show this very, very short video to you, just to show you how you can see them blowing the water out from their trunks again, look, as they're coming across the river. I just thought it was interesting for you to see how Barbarian Invasion is a bit different from Rome Total War. As in fact, you know, I don't think there's any units on Rome Total War that can swim, if I remember correctly, but in Barbarian Invasion they were. So if you host a battle on Barbarian Invasion and you just say no blocking of the bridge or the shallow water crossing, you know, the choke points that are that veterans who have fought bridge battles in the past will know about. Just say no blocking of the bridge or the shallow water crossing, and then your units then, certain units that you've got in you know, different factions, can actually then swim across the river. And as I said before, tactically and strategically on Barbarian Invasion, bridge battles can be very, very interesting. And as I say, that's why I thought I'd just do this short little video for you to have a look at. We play Barbarian Invasion every Sunday night if you'd like to come and join us. And bye for now.